Okay, now we're ready to apply some material, some skins to this bird. Now we're not going to go into depth in adding texture and feathers or anything, but what we are going to do is we are going to make this bird look like the image that we have of the bird. We are going to use this as the skins so that it has the same color and the same implied texture. And to do this, the first thing that we want to do is let's go ahead and hide this empty again. Let's select the bird body, and then let's head on over to shading. I should also mention that now is a good time to save. We should be saving frequently as we go in case there's any crashes. To save, we'll go File, Save, and just go ahead and save it as a .blend file. I'm going to call this Bird Lab .blend. birdlab.blend, and I'm going to go ahead and I'll save it in my downloads file. It's kind of where I save my junk. Save Blender file. Okay, so now it's saved. It's safe. All right, so once we're in here, you can see this is like our bird out in the wild. First, I'm going to show you how to fool around with some, colors and textures and techniques, and then we're going to actually apply the actual texture. So first thing I want you to do is just hit this little ball, and you'll see there's a material there already. So I clicked this little ball and I selected material, and this is the very first material, which it has nothing on it. Um, but just to show you basically how this works, these are called nodes. You can plug them in together, and they work sort of like they work sort of like a circuit where each component does a certain thing, and then when you wire them all together, it completes an overall function. So first of all, let's go ahead and fool with the base color. If you click on this, you can see I can make this bird just about any color that I want. Pink is my favorite color, so I'll go with this soft powdery pink. Ooh, pretty. Okay, so there I have a soft powdery pink. I can also bump up the metallics and make it look shiny. I will warn you that just because you get it to look a certain way in the material preview does not necessarily mean it's going to translate well when we put it into augmented reality. Um, it's pretty solid that you can get it to look like this way in a video, but augmented reality does require some extra skill in lighting. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's really challenging. I guess the point of me telling you this is I want you guys to have some flexibility in that the preview is not completely reliable. So when you export it and you're viewing it in AR, it could look different from what you expect. And I will say that metallicness is one of those things that's really hard to achieve. But by all means, I do want you to fool around with it and play with it. Okay, so we can play with, all these different features, making it shiny and whatnot, but that's not all. Let's go over here and add, and you'll see that we have some textures. So lots of cool textures we can add. For instance, let's try a sky texture. And I'm just going to go ahead and put this here. Generally, color attaches to base color. And then I can play with the settings on this. And just kind of see what they do. Oops. So this one is supposed to have a sky texture. If I take this roughness, can I reset those? Let's see. Oh, more air, more dust, more ozone. Play with the altitude. You can play with all these different things. So you'll see what that one's doing. Okay, kind of interesting. And if I want to delete it, I just select it and hit X, delete that. Let's try another texture. Let's try this brick texture. Again, color goes to color. And right away, you'll see I have these bricks. I can change the color of the bricks. So I can have two colors of bricks. I can have these blue and red bricks, and then I can change the color of the mortar. Let's have white mortar. There we go. I can change frequency, squash. I think that's like how close they are together. Offset. Let's see what that does. Nice. Okay, pretty interesting. Scale of the bricks, tiny, really big. Okay, so you kind of get the point, hopefully. Um, and I could just leave this up for now. And what this does is this is material one. So at any point I can assign material one to any one of my parts. So there you see I assigned it to that leg. I can assign it to the eyeball material. Okay. And then anytime I want to, I can also um make a new material. So to make a new material, hit this, and now I have material one. So you'll see I have the original material is this one, and then material one here, and I'm going to go ahead and fine tune this one. Um, so I kind of just want to reset this. Whoops. I think it should be 0.5. Yeah, 0.5, 0.5, and that's all I mess with. And then the color doesn't really matter for now because I'm going to add a texture. So we're going to go to add, and I know the texture I'm looking for. So as soon as I hit add, I can start typing, and it'll pull up a search bar as soon as I start typing, and I'm going to start typing the word image, and I see image texture pops up, and put that here. Then I attach color to color and alpha to alpha. And now you don't see anything there, which is fine. Um, it's because I haven't assigned it a texture yet. So there it is. And I want to go here. And when you click on this little picture on the side here, you should see your bird PNG, which is already associated with this image. So I'll go ahead and click that. Give it a second to load, and you'll see now my bird PNG is attached to my bird. Okay, it does not look right. Okay, because I haven't fixed that part of it yet. The only thing I'm doing here is literally just linking the bird image to be the skin for my bird. Okay, now I'm gonna have to go and fix the layout, but the point is that now they're linked, which that's good. Okay. So when it comes to putting skins on, what the software does is it creates this thing called a UV map. And a UV map is basically like if I were to cut the skin off of something and then flatten it out like a sheet of paper, what would that look like? Okay, so imagine like wrapping a present, or even more specifically, something round. So I want you to imagine peeling an orange and then you flatten out the skin. What shape is that, right? It doesn't flatten out like, a perfect circle or anything. It's probably going to be kind of weird shaped. So let's go look at and see what our UV map looks like. To do that, we'll go up here and go to UV editing. Um, when your mouse is hovered on this right screen, you're controlling the right screen. When your mouse is hovered over here on the left screen, you'll be controlling the left screen. So make sure that you pay attention to where your mouse is because that's what screen you're controlling. So I come over here to my model. I want to square up by hitting 3 and kind of zoom in. I basically want these two birds to be approximately the same size on my screen. It does not have to be perfect or exact. I just want to get it as close as I can. Now that I'm zoomed in, I can see my bird. I'm squared up. A couple things we want to make sure that we have in place. For one thing, if you hover your mouse up here on this menu here, then you click middle mouse and drag, you can move this menu back and forth. And that's important because we're going to need to access things on both sides of this menu. Make sure that your bird is selected, you're in edit mode, you're on faces. Let's scroll over and I want to show you this other button here. See this one that has two circles that are kind of overlapping? One is full and one is empty. If I click on this, it hides everything in the background, including my grid. And then when I click on it, it reveals it again. Get used to clicking this back and forth because it's a lot easier to see how well your skin is coming out if you can click this on and off and get rid of that grid so you can see it. Okay, so for now I'm going to leave it on, but I want you to be aware of this because we're going to be turning this off. Another thing is we now need to be in material preview or we're not going to see the material on our bird. So remember, this is wireframe, this little ball with the wire looking preview. This is the clay, and this one is material preview. So when I click on that, you'll see I can see my material on my bird. See how this is much easier to see it without the grid on it when I click this off? So we're definitely going to be doing this. For now, though, let's leave it on because we need to see what we're doing for just a minute. While your mouse is hovered over this bird, the model, hit A to select all, make sure it's squared up, and now you'll see this on this side, this is the UV map. This is how they cut our bird covering, which explains why this bird looks so weird. See how it's got like this green area here? We can see that on our bird's chest here. This is cut like super weird. So we're going to fix that. All right. So with it selected, A to select all, right click on your bird model, go down to UV unwrap faces, go down to project from view. And now you'll see on this side, there's something that looks a little more right. It's the shape of a bird. Now's a good time to go ahead and shut off our overlays so that we could just see our bird bod and see what's going on. Bring your mouse over here above this grid bird. A to select all. S to scale. We want to scale that up. G to move, right? And S to scale. And we just want to get this bird to fit over the reference image as good as possible. As I'm lining this up, you'll see over here how my bird is starting to look a little bit more like a bird that I want it to look like, right? You'll notice on the tummy though, there's like this green stripe going down. If I want to get rid of that, I'll zoom in over here and I can move each one of these vertices one at a time. I know that the reason I'm getting this green stripe is because some of these vertices are on the green. If I just try to click this vertex, I've only selected one vertex though. So if I move it, you'll see that there's another one on the other side. See how as I'm moving this, you can see the change taking place on my bird on the right-hand side too? I'm going to hit Command Z and I'm going to show you a better way to do this. Is I want to draw a little square around this vertex. That's how I get both the vertex in front and the vertex in back selected. Now I'll hit G, move it up on the yellow, and you'll see that green stripe has disappeared from that area of the belly. And I'm just going to keep doing that, cleaning it up, moving it up until I get rid of all the green on my bird. Just gonna clean it up. It's looking pretty snazzy. I think this one here is causing a lot. I can also select a whole row and just kind of squeeze that down. Move it in. Might do that here too. S, move that. G to move it. And my bird is starting to look a lot better. And get this tip right in here. G to move this in. I still get a little bit of green up here. I feel like it's still caused from this. Scale this down a little. G to move it. There we go. I've gotten rid of most of that green. Move this down just the littlest bit. And anywhere else that you think is problematic for your individual model, you can fix it up. So I'm just tucking all these areas in off of the green. And it doesn't have to be perfect. There's always a time to get nitpicky and perfect this a little bit more. But for now, you know, this is like our first model. We're just going to do the best we can. Let's see how my bird is looking. Oh, it's looking so great. Still got some cleanup to do on the tummy over here. There we go. And I mean, I could spend some time really cleaning it up, but this is good for now. I'm really pleased with the way my bird looks. And now time to do the eyes, right? And the feet. And to do that, we need to go back to shading, and I need to select the foot. I do not need to make a new material though. I just need to assign it to material 1, which has my bird image attached to it. And I'm going to go ahead and do that for all the pieces. I'm going to do that for the eyeball, still material 0.001, because that's the one that has the bird image attached to it. And then I'm going to make sure I do that for my toes as well. Just select material 0.001. And so now everything is on there. It's pointed to it. Now we just need to go fix it. So in shading, we assign all the parts to this material that we created with the image texture. And then in UV editing, we line it up and fix it up right. So we'll start, we can start with the toes, the foot. So I go to object mode. I'm going to turn my background on again just so I can see what I'm doing. I select my foot, tab back into edit mode, make sure it's on faces, A to select all, right click, UV unwrap faces, project from view, and there is that little claw. Then I want to turn this off so I can see what I'm doing. I hit A to select all on this side, G to move, S to scale, G to move, until I get it looking about how I want it to look. So S and scale it up just a little more, and that looks about right to me. I mean, it's the bird's claw. It's like a natural looking material anyway. I'm not going to be super nitpicky about it, especially not for the purposes of this, you know, simple little tutorial that we're doing. And then when I'm happy with that, I can do the small toe. I have to tab into object mode, select the small toe, A to select all, right click. Oh, this is why it's important to see what you're doing. Let me turn this back on. Ah, yes. I have to tab back into edit mode, A to select all, right click, UV unwrap faces, project from view, and then over here, A to select all, G to move, R to rotate until I get it looking basically how I want it to look. And there we have it. Close enough. I have a lot of green on the tip of this, but I'm not going to worry about it for right now. I have the color on there that I want. It's close enough. You guys can spend as much or as little time as you want kind of fixing and perfecting that, but I'm going to call it. If I was doing this for a serious job or a client, I would probably painstakingly make sure to get it looking the way that I want, but it's fine for now. Next, I'm going to tab back into object mode, select the eye, tab into edit mode, A to select all, right click, project from view. There's my eyeball on this side, A to select all, turn off my overview on this side, and on this side, G to move, and just get it lined up with that eyeball real nice. There we go. That looks great. And if I look at my bird from all sides, you'll see it's really coming together. He still only has one leg, but that's okay. So there's my bird. And we just applied the skins. It's looking fantastic. Let's go back to layout. Can put it back on preview. And now let's go ahead and mirror this foot, and then we'll get ready to rig this up and animate it. So next thing I want to do is join these feet together. So I'll select the toe, hit the little arrow over here on the side, and apply the mirror. Then I'll select the legs and the toes, right click, and let's see, make sure I just have those parts of the toes selected, so the leg and the two toes, right click and join, and now they are one piece. Okay. I'm in object mode. I'll come over here to modifiers, add modifier, generate mirror. We did this before. Grab my little eyedropper, click on the leg. Now I can go into edit mode. If I hit -Y, I can view this from the front. A to select all, G to move, X to move on the X axis. And you'll see there's my bird legs. I don't want to move them out too far. Then I can also hit rotate, rotate them in a little, not too much. G and X to move them out a little bit more. And I think that's about right. So there's my little bird with two talons. Tab, right click, shade smooth. I'm going to shade all my legs smooth. Shade smooth. Make sure I got all my parts shade smooth. And there we have it. I officially have my bird model, and I'm going to hit File, Save. Anytime that you get to a good checkpoint where you're like, man, this is good, I don't want to mess this up, it's always good when you're going to move forward and do something else to do a file save as. So before I do that though, real quick, I'm going to go ahead and apply my mirror modifier that was on the legs. So that's been applied. And now I'm going to go ahead and do File, Save As. And now I'll have my bird lab as that perfect bird model that I just finished up. And I'm going to call this Bird Lab Animate. Save. And now this is a totally separate file. So if I mess this one up, I can always go back to my bird model. And now we're ready for the final part of the tutorial, which is to rig and animate the bird.